So great to see everybody. We try to hold back tears, but we'll do our best. So this is a year like none other. It happens to be my first Shabbos Hagadol drasha as your rabbi, which I can't say like this is so different because what was last year? I didn't give one. So that is that within itself is not, it's different. But Bershus Rabbi Yudin is here in Chevy. Bershus Rabbi Yudin in Chevy. Bershus my parents who are here. I don't know why they're in two separate accounts. I guess quarantine's getting to them too. Baruch Hashem, they're doing well. And Bershus everybody, and I really mean this, it's not Bershus, but it's really biyachad when it comes to Shomrei Torah. And as distant or as separate as we physically feel from one another, I really feel very, very close to each and every one of you. I have to just thank a few different people for their help in my preparation and also apologize that the preparation for this year was not what I expected on any level. I usually hold myself to a high standard in terms of preparation, and I apologize if I did not give it the time that it deserves and the level of care that it deserves. So please bear with me as we go through the sources, and I hope we can learn together. That's really what this Shabbos Hagadol drasha is all about, is communal Talmud Torah and communal growth. I have to thank my brother-in-law, Joe Winkler, for helping me get organized with some of my thoughts. I have to thank some of my chaverim from across the country, who also Rabbi Benny Krohn from Teaneck, Rabbi Yaakov Trump from Young Israel Lawrence Cedarhurst, for helping me as well and giving me some guidance in terms of hadracha, and also to Rabbi Yudin as well, who throughout this process has been, and Chevy have been a tremendous source of inspiration and chizuk as they always are. I also want to say that we're thinking about all the people that are sick and within our community, and not just the people that are ill. We're thinking about their family members. We're thinking about the first responders. We're thinking about the nurses, the medical professionals, the volunteers. Somebody just called me the other day. He's a hospital administrator, and he wanted to know whether he needs to work on Yontif. And because if doesn't come in, then somebody else has to do his job. And it's literally Atzalas Nefashos. And I had to speak to Rabbi Willig, and Rabbi Willig said, mutter, mutter, mutter. And we have to thank the Rebbeim that our community really leans upon and relies upon for so much hadracha. That's Rav Schachter, Rabbi Willig, and I have to say, thinking about Rabbi Simon. Rabbi Baruch Simon is sitting shiva right now. His father passed away. I think yesterday, my days are really all over the place, but I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, his father's passed away, and he didn't even share that. I've been speaking to him basically every day for the past 2 weeks. He didn't mention it at all. So I have them in mind as well as Rabbi Yudin. So let's get started. And sorry, the Facebook feed apparently is not working. We will try to put that up, but if not, we will begin. Okay. So I titled the shir Hashta Hacha. Hashta Hacha, now we're here. This has so many different meanings. Now we're here, now we're stuck. Now we're in quarantine. Now we're here, we can't go anywhere. Now we're here, we're going to be alone for Pesach. We're not going to be with our grandchildren. My children won't be able to sing the Manishtana in front of their grandparents or great-grandparents. Now we're here and things are so different. Seeking hope and optimism in our world, in our new reality. If I was giving this drasha 3 weeks ago, we would talk about anti-Semitism and the impact that anti-Semitism has made on Tufshin Pei, on 5780, And I think it's important just to mention in the beginning that that's something in the back of our minds as we are, getting through day by day this terrible magefa. As always, you could see who I dedicated it towards people on the front lines, the medical professionals, the volunteers, people needing refuah shlema who are suffering from COVID-19. People are risking their lives every single day. Hashem should give them strength, shmira, and refuah to everybody throughout the entire world. This is my table of contents over here. I'm happy to share the Marmakomos with everybody. As always with my Marmakomos, we're not going to read everything inside, but I'm happy to share and email them. You can use this as a resource throughout Yontif to read over. It is a 3-day Yontif. There's plenty of time for learning. And before we get into the first source, we are learning together. We are learning together. Please use the chat function. I want to, as best as possible, use this as an opportunity to learn and have this base medrash, base Knesset feel. And I know I'm having a lot of introductions, but the last one is that I gave a lot of thought to whether I should go to the shul and give it in the shul. Some of my chaverim are doing that. Some of them are doing it from their study. And truth is, I've been in the shul. I've had to make copies. I've had to get svarim. I've had to go to my office. I had to check the mail from time to time. And I personally felt uncomfortable even walking by the Beis HaKnesses, the sanctuary itself. I feel like we are in Gullus in a certain way, that we are apart from the shul, and like I have no right to have that over anybody else, have that luxury over anybody else. So I give this from my study, from my home, and bidema in this difficult time, because we are all in this tzara together. And what I kept on going back to in the Haggadah, and I keep on thinking about, is the opening paragraph to Magid. And I'd like to take some time right now and analyze the opening paragraph of Magid together. The opening paragraph of Magid really struck me because of the middle line. It's really only 3 sentences. Everybody has a different nusach, has a different tune. My family, the Markowitzes, have one tune. The Winklers have a different tune for what Magid, for the Halach Ma'anya. I can't sing either because I can't sing on a tune, but to me they're both the same, So and really it stuck out to me because of the middle line. Kol dichsven yesei v'yechol, kol ditzrech yesei v'yifsach. That we announce, maybe make a declaration at the beginning of the Magid Seder, at the beginning of our Seder that's so beautiful and elaborate, that is said and thought of for so many weeks, maybe not this year, but we think about it, and we're inviting people to the Seder. This year, who's coming? Who's coming? Who are we saying coming into? It's almost like a lie. It's how can we say it? To the extent that I saw in one of these chats that someone asked that question to Rav Avigdor Nevenson, Shlita, the Rav Harashi of the old city. And that's on our minds. Can we ask that question? So I keep on coming back to it. I'd like to analyze this opening paragraph with you all together today. And I have to say, Bershus Sarah. Sarah's in the room with me. So she's going to ask the questions if someone's not going to. She'll sing the Manashtana. So I have to say that I owe so much, and the community owes so much to Sarah. She has been here throughout this entire process, has been a source of strength for me, and I've been preparing all day and for the past few weeks, and a lot that's been going on, and she has been taking the 100% of all the responsibilities. There's so much going on in the house, and I don't even know how she has time for everything, and I have to just thank her publicly as this is, for all she does for myself and for the community. So let's analyze this together. I'm going to read the words. If you have any questions, please either unmute yourself, scream it out, or I'm not going to educate you now on how to do the raise your hand function. We're not going to go there. I had that with my high school students. If you want to chat, you could type in the chat box, and we could do that also. So we begin. Halach ma'anya, right? We open up the bread, the matzah, and we say, this is the poor man's bread. The achlu avasana ba'ara de Mitzrayim, that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. That is, sentence number one. This is the poor man's bread. The first sentence, we open up, we're talking about the matzah. Secondly, we continue, Kol dichsven yese v'yechol, kol ditzrich yetze v'yisak. We continue by saying, anybody that is hungry can come and eat. But not just anybody that's hungry can come and eat. What are we talking about specifically? We are talking about the Korban Pesach. That anybody can come and eat and partake of our Korban Pesach. Hashta Hacha, Lashana Haba Ba'arad Yisrael, Hashta Avdi, Lashana Haba B'nei Chorin. Now we are here, which means now we're here in exile. Lashana Haba Ba'arad Yisrael in the future. Next year, Ezrat Hashem will be in Eretz Yisrael, we'll be celebrating all together. Hashta Avdi, now we are slaves. Next year, we will celebrate as B'nei Chorin. So there are three themes, which in this first paragraph. Number one, matzah. Number two, we have the theme of the Korban Pesach, of the invitations to our Seder, opening up our homes to all those people, which is so challenging this year on so many levels. And third, we state where we are, and we have a hope, a dream for the future of where we want to be in the future. So now, I'll open it up. Any questions? Anything bother you about this opening line?
Yes.
Okay, Mitch, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mitch,
in the Pesukei Zimra, when you have the before Rabbi Shmuel,
yeah,
you have to be registered in order to you have to be registered in order to eat the Korban Pesach.
Amazing. Okay, Mitch, amazing point. Mitch learns with us every single morning in the Tali Aaron Torah program, which Mandy Aaron, who I think is on, did an amazing job. We're learning 6 days a week now. We extended to 2 more days, Sunday through Friday now. So Mitch is there every single morning. Mitch asked an amazing question. He said this is the following halacha. The following halacha. The halacha says, okay. The halacha says the following. That if I want to eat my Korban Pesach with other people, if I want to eat with the Fishers and with the, can't see everybody that's on right now, if I want to eat with the Granoffs and the Zarnes, so before Pesach, we all have to make a deal, and we all have to be mona ourselves on a specific animal and say, we're all doing this together. It's called a kat, a group, and we all have to be in one group together. To the extent that when it comes to Pesach night, if somebody says, hey, I missed out on this, Neil Gordon missed out on this, right? He can't join. He can't join that Korban Pesach because we had to be mona. There had to be a minoi before Pesach, several days in advance, and now we can't do it. So halachically, this line is incorrect. Mitchell, you're correct. It's not, doesn't work. Halachically, it's not effective. That's question number one. Question number two is, why is this paragraph it's in Aramaic? Why is this paragraph in Aramaic? Doesn't make sense, right? The entire Seder is in Lashon HaKodesh. The entire Seder is in Hebrew, except for this paragraph and Chagadya. That's a different story, Chagadya. Right now we're focused on Halach Ma'anya. Why is Halach Ma'anya written in Aramaic, whereas the rest of the Haggadah is written in Hebrew? Kol Disr Yesiv Yisaf is inappropriate, doesn't work, it's not halachic. And third, I think, and more intrinsically about this paragraph is, this paragraph does not appear anywhere in Chazal. There's no source for this paragraph in Chazal, in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, in the Midrashim. It only appears for the first time in the times of the Gaonim. And that's very strange. Because the truth is, most of, if not all of Haggadah, there are bits and pieces here and there, most of the Haggadah comes from the Mishnah, and then we have little additions later on from Chazal. But the main source of the Haggadah is the Mishnayos in Arvei Psachim. So what's this doing here? And why does it get so much prominence? If this was something that we threw in later on in history, come on, do me a favor. Like tuck this in. Dayenu came later. So throw it into Dayenu. Throw it in over there. Why does it deserve so much kavod? Halach mani doesn't deserve the kavod. It should go somewhere else. It wasn't, it's a much later on invention. Okay. Those are the three questions that we have on halach manya. And I'm going to ask you to kindly hold those in the back of your mind. Okay. Keep those on the back burner. We'll get back to this Rav Eliezer Ashkenazi later. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a foray of history. And this, in thinking about what we are going through and experiencing this Seder with so many different challenging circumstances that we're going to be under. And, from a historical perspective, I was just thinking of, are there any points in history where the Jewish people experienced a distressing, challenging, painful Pesach? And maybe if we see that, we can get chizuk, perhaps, from seeing other Pesachim, other Passovers that were celebrated in the same way. So I just have about 5 different ones. There are many, many, unfortunately, throughout our history. And the first comes from an article that a friend of mine wrote, Rabbi Eitan Eisen. Rabbi Eitan Eisen wrote an article about Purim. We celebrated Purim 3 weeks ago. For all of us, it feels like 2 years ago. And what's amazing about Purim is that the Chazal tell us that the letter that Haman sent out, Bahashmid Laharog Li'abed Es Kol Yehudim, Minar V'Yad Zaken, Tafin Hashem, right? When was that letter sent out? It was sent out on Yud Gimel Nisan. Yud Gimel Nisan, what is that, Tuesday this year? That's Tuesday. It was sent out Tuesday. What happened the next day? We know this from the story of the Megillah. Esther and Mordechai go back and forth, and Mordechai says, you got to save the Jewish people. You got to go in unannounced, Achashverosh's home, right? And if you do that, right, Esther says, if I do that, what should happen? What should happen? You guys need to fast for 3 days. But Mordechai says, we can't fast right now because it's Pesach. No, Esther says, you got to fast right now. Go ask a Shaila. They asked the Sanhedrin, the Hagadol, they sent messengers, and guess what? They said the situation is so dire, they canceled Pesach. Pesach was canceled that year in Shushan. It was 3 days. I'm not right. Then it was 3 days of fasting. They fasted probably not at night, just during the day, and there was no Seder. There was no Korban Pesach. There was no Manishtana. There was nothing. Right? The year they canceled Pesach. This is what he writes about over here. And think about what was going on. And as we go through the sources over here, think about what was going on in their minds as they were experiencing this Pesach of anxiety, of unknown. What's going to be in the future? They didn't know, but what they were doing the best that they could. And I continue. The Civil War ended around Pesach time. And this is amazing. The Civil War ended around Pesach time, right? So South versus the North, and there's a lot of history written about this, about the notion that there were Jews on both sides, in the South and the North. And what happened afterwards? This is an article, this is from an advertisement in a newspaper called the Leaser, written in America in the mid-1800s. And what happened here? That the Jews of Savannah, right, many of them who were fighting for the South, they just lost the war. They didn't have matzah. They didn't have any matzah because of the war. So who were they appealing to? They're appealing to their brothers and sisters of the North. And guess what? They provided them the matzah, right? I don't know the numbers of how many people were killed in the Civil War. It's a lot of people. It was a desolation. Mamish a desolation. And how amazing was it that even in this trying time, look how much chesed was being done. Look how much care and concern for Amcha, for my brother and for my sister. And I'm blown away within our own community and stories that I'm hearing from beyond, how much chesed. We created a ad hoc. We didn't know how long it was going to be for, and we still don't know. Chesed committee, I'm on the phone, Sarah's on the phone with them, Chevy and the rabbi, nonstop, thank God. We have a community, and we shouldn't need it, but so many people were helping out. Pesach of 1917, it was the middle of the World War I. The Turks wanted to There are Jews living already in Eretz Yisrael, in Tel Aviv specifically, and they wanted to send them into exile. Where? To Egypt. You can read about it more. It's an article by Muki Tzur. I could send it to you, a 30-page article. And again, what was their feelings? When they would bring exiled back to Egypt right before Pesach. 600,000 people. Someone just texted me, 600,000 people were killed in the Civil War. Okay, continuing on. I have to thank, again, this is the Civil War, 1917 in Eretz Yisrael. We have Purim, the Megillah. Continue on, I have to thank Annie Leifer. Annie Leifer texted me earlier today that she was reading Rabbi Krohn just came out with a great Haggadah called the Magid Seder. And in the Magid Seder on page, I don't know what page it is because I don't have the number there, but they quote a tefillah from the concentration camps. What?
83.
83. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Annie. Shalom. Rav Shmuel. Good to see you. So page 83, there was a tefillah. It was a tefillah written by Rabbi Yisachar Bernard Davids, the chief rabbi of Rotterdam, of Holland. Before, right, he was the chief rabbi, and he was sent to Bergen-Belsen. And he wrote a tefillah that Jews should make before they ate chametz at the Seder. And just imagine, would you call it celebrating Pesach? Celebrating Pesach in Gehenna? And they had the wherewithal and the emunah and the bitachon, right, to make a tefillah to Kadosh Baruch Hu. I can't do it for you. I can't eat the matzah right now. I don't have the matzah. But what can I do for you? I can give you a tefillah that I'm doing the best that I can. And we should get emunah and strength and chizuk from a person like Rabbi Davids. They found this tefillah many, many years later. You can read the story over here in the sources, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And finally, I have to thank my friend Rabbi Bergstein from Anshe Lubavitch, who shared with me Kol Koreh, a letter written by three of the Gedolei Hador in 1932. The Chafetz Chaim was the Gadol Hador at the time. He died a year later in 1933. Rav Chaim Ozer Gazansky was the Abbezin, I believe, in Vilna, who took over the Chafetz Chaim's status, after he passed away. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rav Nachum Mendel Shearson's father-in-law, Rav Yosef Yitzchak Shearson, they wrote a letter in 1933, a plea to all of the Jews in Europe and in South Africa to help the Jews of Russia. To help the Jews of Russia because they had no matzah. They had no matzah. To the extent that I was reading about it today, that they had to send them in Tishrei. Because if they went in Nisan, to send them matzah in Nisan, the Russians would know about it and they'd get rid of it. But they sent it dafka in Tishrei. I don't know if it's in this letter, it's a different letter. They sent it in Tishrei and they hid it away. And I remember I was zochet to have somebody at our Seder, one of the first years. We're living in Fairlawn, Baruch Hashem now for 10 years. 2010, this is 2020. Can't believe it. Time has literally flew by. And I remember maybe the first year we're here for the Seder, and we had somebody over. And I said to him, and I think this is so important, to share our own personal salvations that we went through. And I said, share with me about Russia. And he said to me that he never saw matzah before in his life, but he knew about matzah. What do you mean? He was a young boy in Russia, and he was not allowed, his parents were too afraid, and his grandparents too afraid to show him matzah, lest he go show off or tell his friends about it in school, and then we know what can happen. The police can, never see his children again. So he knew, though, that his grandmother, once a year, would go into the closet, and on top of the closet, there was a pillow. And under the pillow, in the pillowcase, he knew that's where it was. That's where they hid the matzah all year long. They probably got these, in a few months, 6 months earlier, they got the matzah, hid it away. Who knows? And really, the strength and the bravery, the Mesiras Nefesh that we see. And as we're going through history, I think we have to stop and really analyze the first Seder. The first Seder in Jewish history was in Mitzrayim. And not only was it in Mitzrayim, we weren't even free before when we had our first Seder. And I want to just explore this first Seder with you right now and learn about it. And I think the parallels between the first Seder that the Jewish people had in Mitzrayim on the eve of them leaving Egypt and what we specifically are experiencing today in Tafshin Pei 2020 is stark, it's striking, and it's scary. We read this in our own homes, Parsha Chodesh, Perek Yud Beis, in Parshas Bo. And I want to learn the psukim with you together. And we'll just highlight a few different points. Vayomer Hashem Moshe v'Aaron be'eretz Mitzrayim lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron in Mitzrayim, which was unique. And he tells them, you need to bring a Korban Pesach. You have to set aside the animal 4 days earlier that's related to Shabbos Hagadol. And guess what? V'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla zeh. That night, Yud Daled, the night that we do B'dikas Chametz, the night before, Tesvav, the night before the Jewish people left Egypt, Tesvav, when we're celebrating the Seder now, that night, V'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla zeh v'kesi kol b'chor be'eretz Mitzrayim. I'm going to murder, right? I'm going to bring Makos B'choros. Me Adam v'yad behema v'chol Elohei Mitzrayim eseh shvatim ani Hashem. And I want to save you. I want to save you. So what are you going to need to do to be saved? Number one, you need to bring the Korban Pesach. Number two, you need to put blood on your doorposts. And number three, I'm pleading to you, Klal Yisrael. Look at Pasach HaBeis, and it's scary. You're going to take a thing of hyssop, and you're going to dip it into blood. You're going to put it on your doorposts and on your lintels. Lo teitzu, ish mipesach beiso ad boker, and you're not allowed to. I'm asking you, and I'm pleading to you. Do not leave your home the entire night. Your door must be closed, must be locked. You cannot leave your home. And Hashem's going to see this. Upasach Hashem al haPesach. Hashem's going to literally translate it as pass over the doorposts, the doorways of the Jewish people. V'lo yitain hamashchis, and he's not going to permit the mashchis, the destroyer, the magefa, the makam, to affect the batechem, the houses of the Jewish people. Ushmartem et hadavar hazeh l'chok lecha u'levanecha olam, and remember this. And take heed of this lesson, not just for now, but forever. But forever. And it's striking and it's obvious, and I don't need to make the sushal for you. It's clear. The comparison. Lo teitzu ish mi pesach beisu ad boker. And I want to share with you, yesterday afternoon, for those that are living in the community, Yefim Fleischmacher's father passed away. And we had a funeral for him that I will never forget in my life. And I am so sad. With the kavod that you can't give somebody during this time. Rightfully so. The cemetery said only 3 family members are allowed to be there, and 1 member of the clergy, and that's it. That's it. And I got to learn, I never met him. I got to learn about him. Yefim shared with me, he was almost 90 years old. He was born, his birthday's just in a few days. And he died of this machala, of coronavirus. And he survived Stalin and Hitler. And he moved here in 1990, 1991, after the Iron Curtain fell. And to succumb to this, and to not have a tahara or a minyan, it's so sad. And I shared with them this Rashi on this pasuk that we just read. Latem lo teitzu. Rashi is asking, I don't understand. God doesn't know? God can't figure out who, what, where, like who's Jewish, who's not going to get killed, mi yechya, God doesn't know? So why can't people go out? Just Hashem knows. So Rashi writes something very powerful. Magid shami'achar shenitna rishus l'mashchis l'chabel. Once the mashchis, the destroyer, was given permission to destroy, eno mavchin bein tzadik l'rasha. Then there's no distinction. That's just the way the world works. That's the way Hashem's plan is meted out. Eno mavchin bein tzadik l'rasha. Hashem doesn't, the mashchis does not distinguish between the tzaddikim and the non-tzaddikim. But I want to go on in the psukim and highlight two other points here. One point is not on the sources. I just didn't have time to put it back in. But there's an emphasis, and I want to add to the questions that we have, emphasis that Pesach should be celebrated in Chodesh HaAviv, in the spring. And that's why I never thought I'd have a Vasas Nayas headlines in my Marmakomos, but that's what came up. There was a petition. I thank Yoni Leitman for sending this to me. He should have her for Shlema. There was a petition to Israel Supreme Court. This is true. It's a real thing. Chief Rabbinate should make a leap year and postpone Pesach. So what's the leap year all about? The leap year, it's obviously rejected. We know that. We're celebrating Pesach. I don't want to give anyone any hopes. But the whole idea is that Pesach needs to be in the spring. And any single time Pesach's not in the spring, we make a leap year. So who cares? Do we really care that Pesach needs to be in the spring? What's the whole thing about that? What's that really all about, that Pesach needs to be in the spring? Hanukkah needs to be in the winter? No. Hanukkah like a few years ago was on Thanksgiving. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal why does it have to be in the spring? And secondly, there's an emphasis here that we left Mitzrayim at night. And there was something special. We didn't leave Mitzrayim at night. We left Mitzrayim actually during the day, the next day. But there was something special about this night. The pasuk, the Torah calls it, Leil Shimur Hu Lashem, Lo Tziam Eretz Yisrael Hu Halayla Hazeh. Halayla Hazeh, Lashem Shimur L'chol B'nei Yisrael L'dorosam. There was something special about this night, and specifically night. We know Chatzos. You have to eat the Korban Pesach by Chatzos. You have to have the Afikomen by Chatzos. Chatzos is a very special time. Chatzos Halayla. Why is that? What's so special and unique about the night? And most fascinatingly I'm going back and forth, about this whole, what's going on over here, is the Jewish people celebrated a Seder, right? Where the Pesach was celebrated with their door locked. They couldn't leave their homes. They weren't yet free. They were in fact still slaves. They didn't know for sure that Paro was going to let them go right now. And yet Hashem said, you know what I want you to do right now? Have a Korban Pesach. Let your kids sing the Manishtana. Someone's going to sing Dayenu. Make up the tune for Dayenu. Go for it. Have a Seder. What were they celebrating? What were they celebrating in Mitzrayim under all this, terrible machos that are going on around? What were they celebrating? What could they celebrate right now? And we know what happened in Makas Choshech right before. How many of their families were missing people? How many of our families will be missing? Just in terms of distance. But how many are missing? And celebrate your freedom? We're not even free. So just to review, there's a lot of questions, and this year we have a lot of questions, and we won't have that many answers to all of our questions. But the questions that we asked going backwards were, how can we celebrate? What are they celebrating in Mitzrayim? What's the focus on the spring? Why is it so necessary to have everything done at Chatzos Halayla? All the mitzvahs are done at night. The bell is going to ring at Chatzos. What's going on over there? And then we spoke about Halach Ma'anya in all those questions earlier. Aramaic. It doesn't appear anywhere else. Why does it get so much prominence? And the question about the Korban Pesach. So I'd like now to develop a thought, a theory with you based on an idea from Rav Kook. And I receive a lot of inspiration from this thought from Rav Kook. I don't think it's unique to Rav Kook, although the beautiful Hebrew language is unique to him. But this is an idea that comes up in a lot of different sources. Rav Kook was the chief rabbi of Palestine. And I say specifically Palestine because he never got to see Hakamat HaMedina. He passed away in 1935. Rav Avram Yitzchak Cohen Cook. And he writes in the introduction to his Hagadol the following. He says, what's the difference between an Eved and a Ben Chorin? And that's a question that we all need to ask ourselves at the Seder. Many of us will have a lot more time at this Seder than we usually have. There'd be a lot less preparation than needed to have. We have a lot more time to talk and ask questions and really discuss really serious yisodos within Emunah. And he says, what's the difference between a slave and a free person? So he writes, Eno rak hevdel ma'amadi. This is not just like a stature thing. Like you're a slave, right? It's like a label, and you're a free person. You wear those clothing, and you wear that clothing. You live here, and you live here. He happens to be enslaved. He made a mistake. She had a poor choice in her life, and therefore she's meshubad, and she's not meshubad. No. Ani yicholin limtso eved maskil sherucho hu malei cheros ulehefach ben chorin sherucho hu rucho shel eved. You can find in this world somebody that maybe physically, maybe by name, is a slave, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, they're malei cheros. They're full of freedom. They make their own choices. They own their own decisions. They are a free person. Ulehefach ben chorin sherucho hu ruach shel eved. And we see so many people that are free, that are walking around. They're very prominent, maybe well respected within our communities. And they're malei eved, of their rucho, their spirit, of who they are. They're meshubad. They're slaves to so many different things in their life. And you could fill in the blank of what someone might be a slave to. And you can, again, I will send you the sources you can continue on. So with that idea, I would like to share the following thought, that perhaps the reason why Hashem said to the Jewish people, I want you, and I implore of you, I demand of you, I want you to begin celebrating your freedom even while you're a slave. You know why? Because there are going to be times throughout history, there are going to be moments of severe pain, anxiety, depression. There are going to be wars. There are going to be pogroms and holocausts that your people, our people, are going to experience. And I want it to be that the first Pesach was done under very similar conditions, to give chizuk to those people under those conditions, and to share with them that even though physically they may be constrained, physically they are separate from other people, maybe even emotionally, they're full of anxiety and fear and dread, and they don't know what's going to be. But even with all of that, we still have the ability to be free. We still have the ability to be Hashta Hacha. Now we are here, and there is so much that we can accomplish where we are here right now. Hashem wants us to be where we are at this very moment. And that when it's within itself is so powerful. It's so powerful. And that's what I believe Rav Kook is sharing with us. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted the Jewish people to celebrate a Pesach, under such challenging conditions. And I believe this is really the theme of the entire Seder. And I'll get there in a moment. Actually, I'm not going to share this story now. Email me, and Rav Yosef Mendelovich, many of us personally from Fairland know who he is. Read his book. It's amazing. He spoke in our shul a few years ago. He was good friends with Boris Golko. I know Rabbi Yudin has a relationship with him. He was somebody. Nathan Sharansky as well were two people that lived under very, in prison by themselves alone, yet they were completely free. They were completely free. So I want to argue now that this really is a theme of the entire Haggadah. And I'll begin like this. The Rambam has a Haggadah. It's a very short Haggadah. You're like, I got to get this Haggadah. It's like 3 pages. That's it. It's very short. It's very short. And the Rambam's Haggadah can be found in his Sefer Mishnah Torah at the end of Hilchos Chametz and Matzah. After all his halachos, the Rambam says, this is the Haggadah, this is his Haggadah. It's not clear. I think the Rambam wrote it. Maybe he didn't. I'm not a historian. I don't know that Nikuda. But the Rambam begins his Haggadah with 3 words, which are not in our Haggadah. And he has a preface to his Haggadah. And he begins the Haggadah by saying the following. Nusach Haggadah, shenagu ba'Yisrael bizman hagalos kachu. He says, the Haggadah that I'm going to share with you right now is the Haggadah that the Jewish people have had and have experienced and share together around their Siddharim throughout the whole world, bizman hagalos, in the times of the deep and the dark exile. That is what they're experiencing. That is what the Rambam, how he opens up his Haggadah. And he says, what are the 3 words that he has? And if you're Ashkenazi, you don't have this in your Haggadah. He begins the following 3 words. Bibihilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. Bibihilu means that the Jewish people left Egypt in haste. They left it very fast. Bichipazon. And in fact, the pasuk that says Bichipazon yatzanu mimitzrayim, that's a pasuk in Parashas Re'eh. Onkelos translated as Bibihilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. And then the Rambam says right after that, halach ma'anya, de'achlu avasana ba'arid mitzrayim, etc., etc. Exactly what we have. But it begins with the 3 words, Bibihilu yatzanu mitzrayim. And I was struck by these words. Why is the Rambam beginning the Haggadah with these 3 specific words? And Rav Matisyahu Salomon, who is the Mashkiach Ruchani of the Lakewood Yeshiva, says the following in his Haggadah, and all of his Divrei Torah are so powerful. He says the following. He says that, and you can read this inside, I have the 2 pages of it, the Bihilu Yatzan Mitzrayim is supposed to give chizuk to the Jewish people who are living in Galus. And he says that the Jews' Haggadah is a different Haggadah, whether we're living in Mitzrayim, we're living in Galus, or we're living in the times of the Beis HaMikdash. It's a different form of Haggadah. It's a different one. And he says, oh, thank you, Ari. The Bihilu, it's not Bibi. Great, thank you, Ari. Ari has some Sephardi blood in him, and I think his sister also is married to a Sephardi. Okay, so Bihilu, he says that gives chizuk to us. Why? Because the whole Mitzrayim, we left Egypt like that. Bichipazon. Things changed on a dime. On a dime. My father-in-law always says, Yeshuas Hashem keheref ayin. Things can change so fast. And he says that's why we begin the Haggadah this way. We begin the Haggadah b'bihilu. Hashem, you could change our situation. Whether we're a Jew living now, we're a Jew living in post-Civil War, we don't know where Amat is coming from. A Russian in 1932, we're living and celebrating in the Holocaust and trying to make a Seder with our bread. B'bihilu yatzanu mitzrayim. Hashem, you have the ability. And we believe it because we lived it once before. And it could happen again, but things could change so fast. And we get the chizuk from there. And it's not only that. And I want to go back to the halach ma'anya. The halach ma'anya is a whole machlokas here about halach ma'anya. We began by saying it's Aramaic. That's so weird. It's so strange. It doesn't appear in Chazal. It only came on later. What about the Pesach? What's going on over here? So the source that I skipped above, the Haggadah of the Rabbi Eliezer Ashkenazi, I think he's one of the Achronim. He writes in his Haggadah that we begin the Seder with a kina. He used that word. We don't use that word the whole year. We use that word once a year on Tisha B'Av. And he says we begin the Haggadah with a dirge, to be sad, and to open up and declare that we should be depressed at our Seder. We should be sad. No one should be smiling. That's where he begins the Haggadah. And he says, why? It's in Aramaic. It reminds us that we're in Golus. It's Pesach. We can't do the Korban Pesach. And it's a dirge. And the Haggadah's a Maisa Nisim. The Maisa Nisim, you have to know, was a giant, Shevet giants. Rav Yaakov Loiderbaum. Rav Yaakov Melisa, the Baal Nesivos HaMishpat. Whoever learns Choshen Mishpat, you can't learn Choshen Mishpat. With a Ksos, HaChoshen, and the Nesivos. He wrote Yechavedas. He wrote so many, not Yechavedas, the Chavos Das, on Hilchos Nida, so many different svarim, and he has a Haggadah. And he quotes this opinion of the Elazar Ashkenazi, and he says, Chas v'shalom, chutzpah. Chutzpah, that we begin our Haggadah in such a way, to begin the Seder in such a way. The Seder is a night of simcha. The Seder is a night of coming together, even though it is so challenging, even though it might not be easy. But he says, and the Sfarim say, that it's a night to experience. It's a night to impart emunah to our children, our grandchildren, and to the people that are at our Seder, to our spouses, and also to ourselves, to talk to ourselves and to ask us those questions and to learn within ourselves. And he says, Chas v'shalom, that should be the way. But really, you know what he says? We begin the Haggadah, we begin the Seder with a tefillah. This is my word, not his. And l'mechilas kavod, the Ma'aseh Nisim, I'm going to use this word, and we begin the Seder with a tefillah. Halach ma'anya is not just a declaration, this is the poor man's bread. And in fact, what poor man's bread are we talking about? What's a matzah? So you can look in the other source in the Seder Ha'aruch, which is an amazing Haggadah, 3 volumes, it's like encyclopedic work. He writes that the matzah that we're referring to here is not the matzah that we ate in Mitzrayim. It's not the matzah that we're talking about when we left Mitzrayim, because that we talk about that later at the Seder. What's the matzah we're talking about? It's the matzah from the first Pesach. Right? It's the matzah, hainu hamatzah she'achlu ima Pesach. And the first Seder that we had in Mitzrayim, we had matzah too. We had matzah with the Korban Pesach and the Maror. We ate all 3 of them together. And when we open up the Seder, the Haggadah, and we say, Halach ma'ana di achlu avasana ba'ar de Mitzrayim, what are we referring to? This is the matzah we ate at the first Seder in history, when we were still slaves, when things were still difficult. We didn't know what was going to be in the future. That's the lach ma'ana that we're referring to. Wow, what a powerful statement. And then we continue on. And he says it's a tefillah. It's a yearning for what's going to be in the future. We're saying, Kol ditzrach yiseh v'yifsa. We want it to be Hashem. Hashem, we know where we are right now. You know why we know where we are? We're in Galus. We're in exile. You know the Jewish people spoke in exile for many years? They spoke Aramaic. That's why he says the language is not in Hebrew. It's in Aramaic. To remind us we're still in Galus. And in fact, some say, if we're in Eretz Yisrael, right, we have the Beis HaMikdash, we take this paragraph and we throw it out. We get rid of it. Right? I look forward to that day. Look forward to that day. Bezrat Hashem should come soon. So a few days before Pesach. We'll pack the bags. We'll do it. We'll do it. And he says that it's a tefillah to please the Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is not our status quo. We have the hopes and the aspirations that things could get better and things will be better. But not only that it will be better, but even now it's great. Even now it's great. With whoever we have at our Seder. Whoever we have. Even if it means we are by ourselves. We should count our blessings and be so appreciative for all the things that we have in our lives. And we conclude this paragraph by saying, Hashta Hacha. Now we're here. We appreciate how much we have here. Hashem, you want us to be here? L'shana haba b'arad Yisrael. Hashta avdi l'shana haba b'bnei chorin. We're here. And we're going to do the best. Just like they did the first Seder. Just like they did at the end of the Civil War. Just like they did in 1917 in Tel Aviv. They made the best. We're going to do the same right now in our Seder. And that's why the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you know I have to quote the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I love his Torah. Lubavitcher Rebbe. Wait, Sarah's making ha'ara. 1 second. Sarah's making ha'ara. Go ahead, Sarah.
It said in the first Seder we weren't allowed to go out, but now we're asking. That's the first thing we do is invite people in. That's a amazing. So Sarah's saying is at the first Seder, what couldn't we do? We couldn't allow anybody in, nobody out, and nobody in. And what are we saying now? What's the hope? Come in. People Yifsak, and it's not now for this year. Yifsak is in the Lashon Atid. My mother-in-law is on. She was my Hebrew teacher in 9th grade. She'd be very proud of me. That's Lashon Atid. My mother is laughing. Okay, thank you, Mom. So it's in the future that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, it's for next year. It's a tefillah for next year. Now I had to quote the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Back to the Laila. What's the deal with Laila and what's the deal with Chodesh Aviv? And the Rebbe says it's the same point. And back to back, this is a sefer called the Ha'or Shabbat Torah on the Chumash. It's the Rebbe's insights, and he writes here that the truth is we left in 2 stages.
We left at night. Power allowed us to leave at night. And we left during the day because that's when we physically left. Chatzi halayla and chatzi hayom, meaning chatzos halayla and chatzos hayom. 2 different times that we left, midday and midnight. So the Rebbe says so beautiful. He says that some Jews experience Pesach, bechatzos hayom. Things are great. Things are really good for them, right? And they experience simchas. Look at their tables. They've had lots of nachas from so many of their children and grandchildren. Things are going well, and that seder is one type of seder. That's one type of experience. The truth is, I have to be honest, right? We all have our own challenges. Nobody's perfect in life. No family is perfect, right? We all have imperfections. And the Rebbe says the other type of seder that we experience is chatzi halayla, a seder in the middle of the night. Misamel, this is where my mouse is right now. Matzav shebo hayehudi shakua at savar becheshes ha'olam hagashmi v'achurmi. A person who is stuck, right, is shakua, is entrenched until their neck in darkness, right? And he says that why is it? Even somebody that is experiencing light throughout his life also is obligated to Yetzias Mitzrayim. But somebody that is experiencing darkness, we have Yetzias Mitzrayim. We have the chizuk from the first Mitzrayim, from the first Seder, to remind them that the Jewish people experienced in the deepest darkness 210 years, and in this night they left. Hashem waited for this night. It should give us the chizuk that even within the darkness, there is that light. And that's what happens in Chodesh Aviv. I was on a walk today. I've taken more walks with my children and with my wife in the past 2 weeks than I've taken maybe in my entire life. Okay, get out more. I should get out more. But it's very nice. Sarah and I were on a walk today, and we noticed how beautiful just Summit Avenue and Lincrest. That was the extent of our walk. And we noticed how some of the trees were in full bloom, and it was so beautiful. And that's what the Rebbe points out, right? And it's just so startling, so shocking that a week ago, the trees were empty and bare, and some of them still are. But like literally, it's like overnight that a tree goes back into full bloom, and it really is so beautiful. It really is so beautiful. Can we make, okay, well, Moshe asked a question. Can we make a bracha on that? It's different shayla. Okay, so the Rebbe says, why does it have to be? Why is it that you have to have the Seder in Chodesh Aviv? Why is Pesach in Chodesh Aviv? And he says, Kasher mofia le'itim b'chayinu tzkufa, shenidem alanu she'en hi tzkufa shel yetzira tzmicha v'gid. There's some points in our lives that we feel like we're not growing, that we're not flourishing, we're not making, we're not providing. We don't know what's going to be. And so many people that we're thinking about and we're davening for don't know what's going to be with their parnasa, with their investments, what's going to be, how they're going to pay their bills, right? Ulai yeshba, right? And there's no tzmicha, there's no gidul. And so many of us, we don't know what's going to be with our every single day. Every single day is out of order. We're blessed to have the children in the home, thank God. Thank God. But, right? Some of those that are blessed, there's no Seder. There's no Seder. Kasher mofia, ulai yesh ba mishum atzira v'af nesiga lachor, karov levadish inzu el estaklos mutis. Right? To just look at life, it's impossible for growth to happen, is not the right way to look at it, the Rebbe says. Because lamito shodavar tkufa zu mishameshes la'agiras koach l'shem hagbaras atzmicha v'asiksud lachar mikan. Specifically, we have the holiday of Pesach in Chodesh Aviv to show us physical manifestations of darkness to bloom, from nothingness to beautiful flowers. You see how that has the ability to do that. The Jewish people are like that. Nem teshari tuma, and then what happens? Things bloom in such a powerful way. And how powerful that is to see a physical manifestation of how fast the Kadosh Baruch Hu can have things change, both for ourselves and for the entire world. So just to conclude, we'll review right now. Again, if there are any questions, you can for sure ask, type away or unmute yourself. Or I'm happy to discuss this drasha with you later tonight. You can email, call, text, WhatsApp, whatever it might be. But to conclude, we'll review and then make a few different conclusions. I wanted to share with you, so we discussed halach ma'anya, which is very much on my mind this year. How can it be that we can invite people? What does it mean to invite people? What does it mean that it was in Aramaic, doesn't appear in Chazal? So we wanted to argue that it's not really a statement or a song, but it's a tefillah. It's a tefillah, it's a hope that we dig deep into ourselves, into who we are, into our neshamos, dig deep into our wellspring of emunah that we have, and we yearn for a greater tomorrow. And we know that can be, and we have that hope because we've seen it throughout history. And we get the chizuk and the strength from the first Seder in history. That had to be done b'chodesh Haviv, had to be done b'chatos halayla, and had to be done with our doors shut, with not knowing what's going to be in the future. And that's really what the Seder is all about. That's really what the Seder is all about. The Seder is a hope. Dayenu doesn't end with leaving Mitzrayim. Dayenu ends, not even with Matan Torah. Dayenu ends with the base of Bechira. There are these hopes and these aspirations for what could be and what we want, and also recognizing how important it is right now. So I have a few different conclusions I'd like to make. Sorry, I have to just get my notes out. So number one is from Rabbi Sachs. Rabbi Sachs writes in his Agadah that we dip twice. We dip twice.
Rabbi Andrew.
Yes.
Rabbi Andrew. Could we, at 9:30, which is like 2 minutes, could we do Cookman Bet? They're doing a worldwide Tehillim at 9:30.
Yes, I'll try to wrap up.
You didn't get it?
Oh, there's a worldwide Tehillim going on right now for
No,
Tehillim.
you could say it and we'll just listen whenever.
You know what? So I'll say Tehillim Cookman Bays right now, and then we will conclude.
Yes.
Maskil David. I'm going to say the Tehillim now.
Exactly. Just say it.
I will say it right now. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll say it right now, and then we will continue and wrap up. Maskil David, Yosel b'mrat tefillah. Koli Adonai Izak, Koli Adonai Eschanan. Eshpoch lefanav sichi, tzarasid lefanav agid. B'isatef alai ruchi, v'ita idati nesivasi, orach zu alech tamnu fachli. Habeit yamin urei, ve'em li makir, avad manos mimeni in doresh la'ashi. Za'akti elecha Adonai, amarti atamachsi, chelki be'eretz hachayim. Hakshiva rinasi ki dalosi me'od. Hatzileni mirafai ki amsu mimeni. Hotzia mimasger nashi lodos hashemecha. Yachtir tzadikim ki sigmol alai. Okay. Thank you. That was my aunt for bringing that on. Thank you, and Karen. So let's I want to wrap up with a few different points. So,
Rabbi?
yes.
Hi, it's Hadassah. I just wanted to know, I didn't get the link, or I don't know about this worldwide Tehillim. Could somebody tell us, or could you possibly post where we can connect to it?
Okay, yeah. So, someone will try to post the link, okay? Thank you, Hadassah.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Yeah, sure. So, first, I'm going to start in a different way. We have so much in our own lives to be thankful for. And like we said, Hashta Hacha. Hashta Hacha, now we're here. And it's important to think and take moments at our Seder to be thankful for the brachos, for the blessings that we have in our own lives. And there's so much. The dayenus, to think about and analyze the dayenus, take our time with the dayenus throughout the Seder, and to think, what were we being thankful for? And how little those thanks were. And to even go out of our way during our week, and I'm speaking now, I would speak specifically to two different groups. Number one, try to reach out to somebody in our community, in your community, that is a medical professional, is a nurse, a volunteer. Reach out to them and say thank you. Text them. Also, for those that are blessed with children in the home, reach out to their teachers and thank them for all the hard work that they're putting in. The hours and hours, and it's not easy with so much going on. This is the first year that I've given on Zoom that I haven't had a child make a cameo on. You know, and be thank you, and then thankful, and then look inside and look in our homes and be thankful for the brachos that we have in our homes. That is point number one. Secondly, there's a tremendous opportunity this year to talk about emunah and to think about emunah. What does it mean to have a Seder with God? What does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there for us, that He's matzileinu every single generation? And I specifically want to talk to those individuals that we're celebrating their Seder alone. Physically alone, with nobody else, for the safety of other people, for the safety of themselves, and people who feel alone right now. And I want to share with them the words of Rav Kook, written by Rabbi Aaron Goldscheider. Rabbi Goldscheider is a son-in-law, Rabbi Judy and Arthur Goldberg, who live in our community. And he writes in his Haggadah that what does the word Pesach mean? We quoted the pasuk earlier that Hashem skipped over the houses. Pesach abatei avosenu. And Rav Kook quotes several different sources throughout Tanakh that the word Pesach doesn't mean pass over, but it means to hover or to come into. And what does it mean then? Okay. Hashem was Pasach al batei avotenu. Hashem went into and protected all of our homes during the night of the Seder, during the night of the first Seder in Mitzrayim. And I want to say that Hashem is in your home. You're not celebrating the Seder alone, but just like back then, Hashem was in your home. Hashem is in your home with you, sitting next to you, comforting you, and taking care of you at your Seder. And the truth is, He's at all of our Sedarim. And He comes to all of our Sedarim to be with us, to be with His children, as we say, Imo Anochi B'tzara, especially this year, when we are in pain, and this year the entire world is in pain. Hashem is in pain as well. And talking about emunah, specifically for those with children, it's a great year to talk about emunah and talk about perhaps even the struggles that we as parents, we as grandparents, may even feel as we may be struggling with ourselves, and to share the questions that we may have with our children. And with that, for the grandparents that may be missing out or will be missing out of having the Sedarim with their children, and there are many different ways to have the Seder, have a pre-Seder, an Erev Pesach, have a Chol HaMoed Seder. But I do urge, call your parents, call your grandparents at the very least during these times and reach out. How important this is during this time. And finally, I want to end, let's see if there's a question. I want to conclude with a story from Rav Ari Levin. And I'll share, I just, again, I added one meme here. There's a lot of memes, and sometimes they're good and funny. But how can Eliyahu Navi come to our Seder? Maybe it's not the right time. But I want to add a story for you from Rav Ari Levin. Rav Ari Levin was known as a tzaddik of Yerushalayim. Rav Levin would regularly and frequently visit and daven with the prisoners in Yerushalayim. And there's one such year on Chol HaMoed Pesach that he went after his Sedarim and after his Yantif, his Seder, he's in Yerushalayim, to visit them. And they'd get a lot of chizuk, a lot of strength, just from seeing him and just from getting to talk to this Gadol. So one Chol HaMoed, they went in, and he went around this room. It must have been this big room with a lot of different people, this meeting room. And he was talking to them and schmoozing with them. Shalom Aleichem, tell me about your Seder. How was it? And it was sad, as it became somber. Each man reminisced about what Seder was in his own home and how Seder used to be when he was around and what he missed, when he was a child. And then one joker, one of the jokers in the jokesters in the crowd got up and he said, Rabbi, everything was fine until the prayer of Shvo Chamascha, until we had to open the door for Eliyahu Hanavi. I walked to the door and tried to open it for Eliyahu Hanavi, but no matter how I tried, I was unable to open the door for him. So as he finished the joke, everybody chuckled a little bit, but then they looked around and they stopped laughing. And there was a heavy atmosphere in the room. It wasn't funny. They were prisoners. The door wasn't open and wouldn't open as long as they were stuck there, locked away from the freedom of life. Perhaps to never be B'nai Chorin again. Who could know? Would Eliyahu Hanavi even come to their prison to greet them as he greeted the rest of Mashiach? The pessimistic mood was palpable. Their tragic existence was never so tangible and so real as this moment. And all eyes turned to the Gadol, to Rav Levin, for some comfort. And he said the following, and I read this and I started to cry earlier today. He said, perhaps you think that you're prisoners, and because of that, you can't go free. But it's not true. Every individual is really a prisoner. And we are all waiting to be freed by Eliyahu Hanavi. But the way one is liberated is not through the front door of his own home, through his Pesach Beso. One who thinks that is the way will never be free. How does one become free? Through the opening of one's heart. And if you open up your heart, then and only then will you be a Ben Chor. It doesn't make a difference who you are. You could be in the comfort of your own home or trapped behind bars. But if you open up your heart and let Eliyahu Hanavi come in, then you will truly be free. I promise.
I think you need to take away that second bed. Shia, take away the second bed and we'll have more room.
And that is our chizuk for this year. Hashta Hacha. Now we are here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be in this situation. It's up to us to do the best that we can with where we are, with our Siddharim, with our Pesach, with our every single day. I have to say that I truly miss, Sarah and I truly miss each and every single one of you. We miss greeting you in shul. We miss celebrating your smachot together. Wish missing you yashakoach, seeing you at the kiddush, davening with you, learning with you. Zoom is okay, but it's not the best. It will do for now. I wish everybody, as Rabbi Willig has been saying, a chag bari, kasher, v'sameach. It should be a healthy yontif. It should be a kosher yontif. And it should be a simchadik yontif for us, for our community, for Klal Yisrael, for the entire world. The Kadosh Baruch Hu should bring tremendous stability and refuah and yeshuos to the entire world. Good yontif.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
you.
Thank you,
Amen. Chag Sameach.
Thank you.
Amen.
God bless you. Rabbi.
Chag Kasher Sameach, everybody.
Chag Sameach.
Thank you.
Sameach.
Amen.